How many times have you made yourself smaller, just to be accepted, silenced your truth, smiled when you wanted to speak? You don't owe the world an apology for taking up space. Real freedom begins when you stop seeking permission to be whole. Tonight we unlearn the habit of shrinking and return to the quiet power of standing as you are. In the shadowed corners of our existence, let's wander together into a journey less travelled, a quiet path leading to the heart's truth, a journey not into the unknown, but into the depths we often ignore. Here lies a world where the soft murmurs of the soul can swell into declarations of being. Let us venture where the habit of shrinking no longer holds sway, where invisibility unwinds its tangled roots in our psyche. We are taught, subtly and persistently, to seek safety in silence, to enshroud ourselves in layers of agreeableness. This unspoken mantra, a relic inherited through generations, whispers that invisibility equates to protection. Yet, as we unfold this notion, step by step, a new understanding emerges. Hiding dims not only danger but also the hues of genuine living. Veiled in years of patterned compliance, these habits weave through the innocence of our childhood, whispering that silence and agreement are the safest paths. As silent learners of unvoiced truths, we mimic behaviours that assure belonging. Invisible lessons, taught in sighs and gestures, choreograph our ways of being, guiding us to merge, to blur, until distinct edges fade away. Yet, within this cocoon of conformity, where we tuck away the unruly parts that might disturb the peace, lies an unintended consequence, the erasure of self, a quiet betrayal that muffles the spirit's song. And so grows the paradox. Safety found in invisibility often shelters us from both scrutiny and essence. Shielded behind these veils, fewer opportunities appear for genuine connection and heartfelt expression. The illusion promises sanctuary, but delivers a sterile existence, muted, devoid of the vibrancy that authentic life brings. To reclaim the space lost in this struggle is to face the paradox head-on, to feel the fear, yet redefine exposure as a gateway to deeper, more poignant interactions. Society, the vast sea of unspoken rules, cradles us in an intricate web of invisible dictates. It shapes our actions, thoughts, and even self-perceptions without our conscious consent, subtly steering us with promises of social acceptance and warnings of rejection. As creatures instinctively drawn to society's warm embrace, we barter pieces of our authenticity for this comforting consistency. But one must ask, at what cost? When these whispered expectancies eclipse our values, they dismantle the authentic by burying its glow beneath layers of conformity. The cost manifests as an internal erosion, a descent into anxiety and anonymity. The heart, eager for life's full spectrum, finds itself shackled by the echoes of external validation, and in the ceaseless yearning, true peace becomes elusive. Yet even as shadows of doubt linger, the desire to inhabit one's own skin persists. A call to reframe these unseen chains into threads of transformation. Reclaiming oneself in this world's no simple task. It demands courage, the unwavering resolve to affirm existence without seeking approval. It involves dismantling beliefs that have long held court, standing bravely in territories carved by self-assurance. This sacred rite of reclamation, inspired by whispers of self-worth, fuels a silent revolution against the echoes of sameness. With each step, resilience is cultivated, transforming tender vulnerabilities into wisdom's gentle strength. Thus begins the transformation of self-perception. As gentleness unfurls across the canvas of our minds, self-acceptance emerges, radiant and true. Embracing our wholeness, we challenge the narratives that have long whispered inadequacy. Intentional reflection uncovers the strength within our imperfections, transforming rejection into an embrace of our evolving nature. Here we lay the foundation for a life less restrained, where the self, unfractured, stands poised to weave connection from authenticity's embrace. As authenticity takes root, the ripples extend beyond mere personal liberation, challenging antiquated norms and inspiring those silent in their own shadows. Here, we become lighthouses in the night, illuminating a path where diversity blossoms and individuality sings. The choice to stand true reverberates outward, creating a culture infused with empathy and genuine acknowledgement. Yet this newfound light stirs the shadows within, encountering resistance in its bold pursuit of authenticity. Resilience whispers its wisdom here, offering strength to weather storms of doubt and hesitation. Each challenge becomes a stepping stone, a testament to growth and the courage of deliberate choice. In resistance, we find resilience's warm embrace, crafting stories of courage from the threads of adversity. Liberation is embodied when we choose to occupy our space, not with defiance, but with quiet presence and unwavering self-assurance. This act transforms existence into a tapestry, rich with intention, where every decision speaks volumes of self-empowerment's transformative force. As the narratives of the past dissolve, a new legacy arises, defined by presence, purpose, and personal power. Choosing to live unapologetically demands courage, a soft yet resilient strength. It invites us to embrace every aspect within, the shadows and the light, in a harmonious dance of acceptance. Here, self-worth is disentangled from validation's web, standing firm within the sanctuary of authenticity. This path, though challenging, leads to profound fulfillment, echoing outward into lives poised for the exhilarating embrace of life's full depth. In the tender shadowland of human emotion, guilt often weaves itself into the tapestry of our lives, a complex strand arising from the loom of social conditioning and personal history. It frequently makes its presence known when we feel we've breached our moral codes, whispering of wrongs committed in the hidden chambers of our souls. Yet not all guilt is birthed from the cradle of true wrongdoing. Often, it emerges like a silent tide, propelled by the world's discomfort with those who defy its unspoken rules. When we dare to transcend the boundaries set by others, or express the vibrant hues of our individuality, guilt may bloom not from our transgressions, but from the world's unease with our audacity. This is the guilt spun from external strings, rather than the soft pulse of inner morality. For personal growth, we must discern the gentle notes of guilt that truly echo our inner values from those jangling tunes born of society's webbed control. This societal web stretches wide, ensnaring us in roles and faces that may not be our own. Conditioned guilt urges us to hide our authentic selves in the service of acceptance, casting the true self into the shadows. It invites us to cultivate a fierce self-awareness, to see through the veils of guilt, not moral in origin, but rather sown from the limits others project upon us. Our journey demands that we challenge these apparitions of expectation, reshaping our boundaries as artists shape light and shadow into form. We embark on an inward odyssey, tracing patterns where guilt silences our power, muffling the song of self, concealing our strength within. As we wander deeper into the halls of the psyche, the concept of projection draws near, a defense mechanism first charted by Freud and then deepened by Jung. Projection manifests as a magic mirror, where one's disowned traits are seen in others, intertwined with guilt like ivy on ancient stone. Those encased by their limitations project their discomfort onto those daring to step beyond the circle. Here, guilt becomes a tool of quiet tyranny, seeking to steer us back into conformity's safe harbour. Feeling too much often stems from others' discomfort with the shifting sands of their boundaries. These projections, like ghostly guardians, aim to mould behaviour, suffusing us with doubts that send us scurrying back to the familiar and dimming the light of our authenticity. Unravelling these projections we begin to see whether our guilt truly aligns with our spirit, or if it merely echoes another's unrest. This knowledge invites transformation, a separation where genuine remorse dances alone, unpartnered by imposed guilt. As we confront these shadows, we awaken into a realm where the external cages disintegrate, revealing a path of autonomy, lit by the lamps of our true desires. Thus, unchecked guilt stands as a formidable barrier, casting long shadows over potential growth. But through introspection, its hold weakens, offering space for our choices to grow from authenticity rather than external constraints. This release nurtures us to navigate the journey with integrity and assurance. Our story within identity often intertwines with guilt, each step a dance between imposed narratives and our true selves. Family ties, societal whispers, each story telling their own version of who we should be, all can clash with our heart's voice. When our actions veer from these imposed tales, guilt may surface, a signal that perhaps we tread dangerous ground. Peel back these layers, and we find guilt often stemming not from our own truths, but from neglecting these expectations. We embark on this path of individuation, separating from the illusions, to embrace a liberation that lies both tender and fierce. It invites reflection. Is this guilt mourning our own truths, or simply acknowledging another's framed expectation? To challenge the morality of being too much, we must first examine this label that often bears moral weight, a whispered criticism masquerading as decorum. Here, societal restraint rises against individuality with a facade of poised tolerance, instructing humility as self-erasure. Enthusiasm, ambition, unveiled vulnerability, these may kindle discomfort, pressing us back toward palatable moderation. Yet, the full embracing of our identity is the catalyst for self-realization. Often, accusations of being too much reveal only another's insecurity, their discomfort with expressions that sweep beyond moderation's safe harbours. Though society holds fast to its judgments, we question this perceived morality that denounces our expressive fullness. Herein lies empowerment, the courage to evolve beyond mere acceptance, charting a course through moral redefinitions that uphold authentic self-expression as vital to our ethical voyage. Societal norms shift like timeless tides, and within this flux space opens for richer connection, challenging the old dichotomies of being. From this transformation, individuality rises without guilt, a sacred disruption fostering a collective journey toward truth and understanding, an evolution enriched by diversity and led by a grace unbound. In the gentle dance of our lives, where threads of expectations and self-doubts entwine, lies a deeply rooted longing for external permission, a whisper from the world granting us the liberty to truly exist. From the tenderness of childhood, we are shown the path where approval from others becomes a lodestar. Parents, teachers, figures of authority, each one teaching us to seek validation, as if our worth were a tapestry woven by others' hands. But in this quest for affirmation lies a hidden snare, where reliance on another's nod constrains the soul and strands it on a shore of unfulfilled desires. Picture the inner landscape marred by this dependency, a realm where the self is fragmented, caught between the silent supplicant seeking acceptance and the boundless spirit yearning to soar free. Jung would speak of such division as the antithesis of individuation, the fragmentation of the self that calls for reunification. Just as Kierkegaard decried the crowd that drowns authenticity, here too, conformity strangles truth, drawing us farther from the echo of our innermost voice. Regard now the dawn of autonomy, a brightening horizon initiated by the realization that true validation springs from within, from that resolute self-belief that transcends the shadows of dependency. Society, with its unseen hands, crafts the myth of a culture where permission is currency. How subtly it creeps into our perception, whispering that we must ask before we act. Comfort is employed as a gentle cage, creating a mirage of acceptance dressed as decisions engineered by norms. And so, consent becomes the oar by which we navigate the waters of identity, sailing ever further from personal truth. But to set foot upon the path of liberation is to unfurl the sails of courage, casting off into the unknown where fear and insecurity forge the seas. No longer must we await society's nod, for Rogers deftly reminded us that the flowering of potential arises not from without, but from the seed of our own experiences. In the gardens of our mind lie the weeds of psychological barriers, fear woven into their roots, of judgment, of failure, of being cast out. Yet gaze closely. Though they appear as chains, they are but stories told by a mind unclear. Here within resistance, transformation gently stirs, an act of defiance that births acceptance of the self. Frankel's wisdom graces us with the knowledge that between the stimuli of fear and our response lies a field of choice, a place where freedom blossoms. The undertaking of self-liberation is one of delicate unravelling, questioning, opening, and dismantling with resilience. To embrace the sovereignty of self is to become monarch of one's own life, to sip deeply from the well of inner authority and trust. In a world where outward approval is worshipped as a shrine, reclaiming self-sovereignty is an act of quiet rebellion, a veiled revolution towards authenticity. No longer does one stand apart, but rather walks their path, banner raised high in personal truth. Nietzsche's Übermensch invites us to transcend conformity, seeking instead the creation of values born from the soul's deepest recesses. We then find sanctuary in the art of boundary setting. Like ancient walls guarding a sacred city, boundaries stand as sentinels, signifying self-worth and creating spaces free of intrusion where authenticity flourishes without care. Society leans heavily on the scale, favouring others' needs over one's own, but boundaries hold the balance, honouring individuality by defining personal limits. In this realm of individuation, Jung understood that boundaries illuminate the road to self-fulfillment. As we traverse this landscape, non-attachment calls softly from eastern shores, inviting us to let go of binding outcomes and ephemeral societal approval. Here is the art of release, a shedding of skin, where the illusion of control and false narratives fade like morning mist. Watts eloquently spoke of this liberty, an acceptance of impermanence granting access to the true self's infinite wisdom and peace. It is trust, the inner kind, that we cradle next, an unwavering faith in our capability to navigate life's labyrinth, orchestrated by intuition and tempered by knowledge, so often overshadowed by external clamour. Cultivating such trust demands a careful listening to the soul's murmurs. In this, Rogers reminded us of the vitality of inner trust for a life lived true. And so, self-authorization becomes the crescendo, an inner proclamation of one's existence, a flowering of the right to be, propelled by personal dreams and convictions, unchained from the dominion of external expectations. Sartre's existential anthem encourages us to sculpt meaning from our existence, gently brushing away the weight of waiting. Here, freedom finds a voice, allowing us to shape our path with courage and authenticity. Finally, navigating the river of inner dialogues allows the authentic self to ascend. This dance of voices, a symphony of past, of experience, of learned fears, asks us to listen, discern, and amplify the note of truth we choose. Jung's idea of the conductor of the psyche plays here. In reflection, in dialogue with self, a harmony is struck, casting aside the cacophony of permission. As the sun rises on the horizon of self-responsibility, it shines on a landscape of liberation. Accepting this responsibility means stepping from a shadowed world of passive existence into a realm where the self shapes destiny. Frankel's tragic optimism echoes here. transformation found in adversity's face, and empowerment born from taking the reins of one's own life. In this acceptance, freedom's door is thrown wide, inviting us to step through and be unapologetically whole. Politeness, in its essence, was born from the primal need for unity, forged in the ancient fires of survival, where tribal cohesion held the promise of protection. Our ancestors learned that words, gentle and measured, could weave bonds stronger than mere survival. They could intertwine souls, create a tapestry of community amidst the vast, lonely savannas. Yet, what once served as a vessel of belonging has transformed over the ages into an unconscious dance of appeasement, a mask donned not for connection, but for avoidance. Politeness, a shadow of its original intent, can now whisper of survival in the softest tones, the instinct to shrink away from conflict, to hide our unchecked truths beneath layers of deference. This instinct, however, carries a burden deep within its subtle embrace. It moulds itself into a narrative of quiet suppression, a hushed reluctance to assert one's own sunlight in a world of shadows. Gradually, the seed of politeness grows into a vine that wraps itself around the self, trapping it within unseen confines. To be too polite is to endure 1,000 tiny fractures, a pattern of micro-traumas, each insignificant alone, but cumulatively monumental. As the heart bows beneath this weight, authenticity is eclipsed, and a silent fissure splits the hidden desires from outward actions. In the silent echoes of fervent deference lies the softened pain of never daring to offend. The mind, in perpetual motion, is caught in the gossamer web of others' comforts, forever prioritizing external perceptions over the soul's truth. Fear whispers in dulcet tones, warning of displeasure or rejection, and the self listens, conditioned to place others' emotional ease above its own. In this soft dance of avoidance, the sufferer becomes an invisible entity, harbouring quiet storms within. The need to please cloaks the spirit, a shield against imagined reprimands, leaving behind an emotional void, an echo chamber of unspoken truths and silent screams. Agreeability weaves a seamless garment of accommodation, and though it feels smooth upon the skin, it sculpts a false self. When fear, not empathy, guides this hand, the spirit becomes a mirror for others, reflections that obscure personal truths. To constantly yield is not to choose, but to become a vaporous shadow, a memory of solid selfhood. Personal boundaries blur, fading into a landscape of compliance where individual identity is diluted, passions muted. Within this acquiescence, a reticent cry for recognition, for authenticity to emerge, remains. Yet in this solitude, the heart learns the sacred act of saying no. This word, simple and profound, becomes an incantation of sovereignty, a reclamation of the self. To deny external demands is not just an act of refusal, it is a sacred rite of affirmation. With each utterance, boundaries are drawn with the grace of whispered defiance, crafting an internal sanctuary where one's desires and needs are both honoured and nurtured. In this act of self-care, the spirit rises, unfurling like an ancient scroll upon the winds of personal truth, fostering dignity and clarity. Through the unshackling of excessive politeness, genuine expression unfurls like the dawn, its light illuminating paths once shadowed. To speak with truth is to live with integrity, to walk upon grounds firm with self-awareness. This authenticity creates ripples of understanding in all relationships, binding them with the threads of mutual respect. Just as a river changes course under the guidance of the earth, so too does life flow more freely when authenticity takes the helm. The journey toward this truth is not a swift voyage, but a gradual unfolding, a metamorphosis born from courage. shedding the armour of politeness to embrace vulnerability's tender strength. Yet the price of chronic politeness is often paid in the currency of mental health. Beneath its polished veneer, a chasm yawns wide where unexpressed truths echo in cognitive dissonance. This inner conflict, left to fester, brews storms of stress and anxiety, erosion of the very fabric of mental well-being. The exterior mask of politeness, crafted from fears of rejection or conflict, builds walls against internal solace and blurs the lines between authentic self and crafted persona. Politeness is intertwined with the roots of shame, a silent echo of past betrayals when assertiveness was met with disdain. The heart, conditioned to hide beneath layers of decorum, equates self-expression with peril. To understand this tie is to break its chain, to confront the internal narratives that fortify it. The journey to authenticity meanders through self-reflection, dismantling the constructs of shame. And in this liberation, the self is free to stand tall, imperfections embraced, truths celebrated. In vulnerability lies strength, a paradox where true voice finds power. To be assertive is not to dominate, but to share sacred truths with grace. It is an act of opening, where vulnerability weaves bonds of understanding, turning timidity into courage's gentle shadow. In this grace, assertiveness nurtures authenticity, like a gardener tending to the sacred soil of selfhood. To move beyond avoidance is to embrace conflict as a crucible of change. Conflict, when met with openness, becomes a symphony of growth, nurturing bonds through understanding rather than discord. Under this light, conflict awakens as a bridge, connecting hearts through dialogue, each note resonating with respect. A gentle mind learns to navigate these waters, crafting harmony from the notes of disagreement. In the end, freedom, the true profound liberation, blooms when politeness no longer muffles the soul's song. When authenticity reigns, creativity and truth thrive, singing in unison as life aligns with the true self's melody. To embrace this freedom is to extend the invitation to others to craft a world where authenticity is cherished and celebrated. This transformation, from confined politeness to vibrant expression, is a testament to the spirit's resilience, a sacred journey of living one's truth amidst the wondrous tapestry of existence. In the quiet theatre of existence, where authenticity finds refuge, we begin to unravel the myth of constant visibility. This myth, like an ever-present spectre, shadows our every move. We live in a world where to be seen is equated with being valued, where daily moments are transformed into curated performances. Social media platforms have become stages, and in this drama we often become actors, crafting a version of ourselves polished for the approval of others. Yet, in this relentless pursuit of an idealized image, our true selves grow faint, concealed beneath layers of perfection that society demands. Amidst this, a gentle truth whispers, our worth is not tethered to visibility, but lies instead in the silent sanctuaries of our being. It calls us to step away from the limelight and instead delve into the serene depths of introspection. When we forsake the performance, we find a sacred space within, where authenticity is an act of rebellion, a quiet affirmation that we are indeed enough. Here we learn to be still, to listen to the unadorned voice of our heart, to discover that our existence is not tethered to the transient whims of the world. In the grand tapestry of our lives, the illusion of perfection often threads itself with deceptive allure, promising acceptance and admiration. We have been taught, time and again, to hide our imperfections, to mask them as if they were blemishes, rather than the nuanced details that render us wonderfully unique. Yet, like the art of kintsugi, which mends broken pottery with gold, elevating its fractures to beauty, we, too, find our magnificence in the acceptance of our imperfections. Our true wholeness is revealed in this process of integration, where the shadows meet the light, and a cohesive self emerges from the fragments. Authenticity is not merely a notion of philosophy or psychology, but a sacred practice, a daily vow to live in harmony with our essence. It is a ritual of quietly embracing our raw, unfiltered selves in a world constantly signalling deviation. This practice demands courage, a willingness to be vulnerable, and an acceptance of scars as integral to our narrative. As we navigate the vast ocean of our identities, authenticity becomes our compass, guiding the evolving symphony of our being. However, the journey to authentic living is wrought with the perils of self-betrayal. Each time we suppress our truths to mould ourselves to others' expectations, we pay a heavy toll, enduring an inner storm that erodes our essence. Disconnection and fatigue become our companions in the charade. Yet, there is hope in acknowledgement and the courage to reclaim our truth. Transformation begins when we listen to our inner voice, forgiving past transgressions and moving toward a reconciled state of unity with ourselves. In setting boundaries, we find a revolutionary act of self-respect. Much like a craftsman demarcates the edges of his work, boundaries define where we begin and where others end. They are necessary for tempering authenticity and ensuring self-preservation. Often misunderstood as selfishness, boundary setting is in fact a bold declaration of self-worth, a firm line drawn to protect our emotional and mental landscapes. These borders, while they may challenge others' perceptions, foster an environment in which we are free to live authentically and without apology. The thread of authenticity weaves itself into the fabric of our mental health, building resilient structures upon which peace and clarity rest. In choosing to exist congruently with our inner selves, we dismantle the discord that breeds anxiety and discontent. Authenticity nurtures truthful relationships and permits us to confront emotional triggers with grace, moving from reactive states to serene, balanced responses. In embracing authenticity, we foster a dialogue of healing that transforms isolation into connection. The pursuit of approval often becomes a burdensome hustle, a feverish endeavour that leads us astray from our inherent worth. Yet liberation awaits those who choose to relinquish this chase, grounding their value in self-acceptance. Here in the quiet of our inner sanctuary, undisturbed by external judgments, we find space to honour what is truly significant. Validation becomes an internal affair, allowing authenticity to guide us with purpose and fulfilment. Ultimately, authenticity is enshrined in the quiet power of self-acceptance, embracing both light and shadow, transcending the superficial chase for perfect facades. This radical act of witnessing oneself without judgment becomes a cornerstone of confidence and strength. In self-acceptance, we anchor ourselves amid external critiques, nurturing a profound peace that assures us of our worth. As we journey toward inner sovereignty, authenticity crowns us, urging us to own our narratives and live by our truths. This sovereignty is not isolation, but a flourishing connection to self, a grounding in personal values that withstands societal pressures. By reclaiming our power and inviting wholeness over perfection, we embark on an ineffable journey back to our true selves, where we find sanctuary and liberation. Here, amidst the quiet rhythms of our existence, we realise that performing for the world diminishes, while being resonates eternally. In the gentle embrace of night, a quiet power stirs within the chambers of our hearts, echoing with a strength that needs no trumpet call. This is the soft pulse of inner confidence, anchored not in loud proclamations or the clamour of external accolades, but in the subtle assurance that speaks only to the self. It grounds us with its gentle presence, much like the quiet stillness that envelops the world just before dawn. Unlike the brazen display often mistaken for confidence, true self-assuredness emerges like whispers, tender reminders of our worth that thrive without the need for validation. When we nurture this inner strength, we embark on a journey away from the external noise and towards a profound embrace of our true capabilities and identity. It grants us the grace to walk into any space, cradling the knowledge that our value is inherent, untouched by passing judgments or fleeting opinions. This journey is guided by self-knowledge and self-compassion, where quiet confidence is cultivated through introspective exploration, a gentle unearthing of fears and self-acceptance. It is a continual practice, a dance where we consistently affirm our worth, lovingly embracing imperfections as intricate pieces of our authentic tapestry. As the night sky embraces twilight, we find ourselves releasing the need to prove, to constantly measure our self-worth against external criteria. In this release, a tranquil freedom unfolds, inviting us to redefine success not as applause from the world, but as inner harmony, an alignment with our deepest values. Here in the quietude, we grant ourselves the precious space to simply be, unshadowed by the frenetic chase for validation. It is within this serene surrender that we rediscover our innate worth, untethered from the external world's shifting gaze. As we embrace this quiet power, we find that we are enough, not for what we do, but simply for who we are. The courage to embrace vulnerability emerges like a soft breeze, challenging cultural notions that cloak openness as weakness. Quiet confidence reveals that vulnerability is a profound strength, a sacred invitation to unmask and be seen without the armour of pretense. This open stance fosters deep connections, allowing empathy to blossom like a warm sunbeam breaking through clouds. As we lean into our vulnerabilities, the confidence that grows is rooted in the acceptance of our whole selves, imperfections weaved into the tapestry of our being. In this space we nurture connections not with facades, but with a courage that welcomes others to witness our true essence. The liberation that comes from this acceptance frees us from perfectionism's shackles, allowing us to stand firmly in the gentle knowing that our openness is a testament to our inner strength. Vulnerability becomes the fertile ground upon which quiet confidence flourishes, not as a flaw, but as the solid foundation of who we are. In the realm of quiet confidence, we also learn the art of non-attachment to opinions, a delicate dance that liberates our souls. This gentle practice does not seek to shut out the world, but rather lets us stand firm, undisturbed by the swirling tides of praise and criticism. In this delicate balance, we engage with the world from a place of inner security, untethered to external judgments. It is here that we nurture a robust sense of self, not as an act of detachment, but as an affirmation of our inherent value. This practice, whispering softly in the background, allows us to discern feedback, honouring constructive voices while gently parting from the rest. As the night deepens, we delve into profound self-acceptance, embracing every facet of ourselves without hesitation. This is no superficial affirmation. Rather, it is a gentle acknowledgement that we are masterpieces forever in the making. Self-acceptance invites us to meet ourselves with tenderness and forgiveness, discarding the harsh narratives of not being enough. Instead, we replace them with loving truths that encourage a confidence rooted in self-love. In this embrace, self-acceptance becomes a dance, inviting us to return to love and acceptance, nurturing a quiet confidence that allows us to sway through life with grace. The serene solitude becomes a sanctuary where quiet confidence takes root within the stillness, It is in this gentle silence that we engage in a sacred dialogue with ourselves, exploring the landscapes of our soul that often remain hidden amidst noise. Solitude offers a refuge, allowing us to uncover the true core of our being, a quiet anchor that holds us firm in authenticity. Embracing solitude shifts the perception of aloneness, guiding us into a productive dialogue with the self, where confidence blooms undisturbed. Here we find the transformative power that empowers us to face life's complexities, emerging with a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. Finally, the courage to stand alone, not as isolation, but as a quiet testament to our unwavering inner strength, whispers through the narrative. It beckons us to remain true to ourselves, even amidst diverging opinions, guided by inner conviction. This courage emboldens us to create a life brimming with meaning and purpose, led by our internal compass rather than external pressures. In this gentle solitude, quiet confidence flourishes, affirming our place in the world with integrity and elegance, painting a serene revolution of inner peace, a steadfast serenity that transcends external chaos, washing over us like a soothing lullaby, harmonizing us with the symphony of authenticity. In the quiet corridors of our minds, a shadow lurks, the primal fear of being disliked. It whispers tales of old when the circle of acceptance meant the difference between safety and peril. Our minds, ancient in their fears, still echo with reverence to the old ways, where bonds preserved survival. This ancestral anxiety shapes our modern sense of self, coaxing us into a dance of ever-shifting forms to earn approval and belonging. But in understanding this, we begin to unravel the bindings that hold us to external praise and scripted smiles, to the paths of authenticity, pure and unfiltered. In this world of mirrors and echoes, each of us sees through lenses crafted from our own experiences. The result? A kaleidoscope of misunderstandings, a ballet of misinterpretations that we inevitably perform with every encounter. True understanding becomes a rare blossom, cherished when found but not expected. The heart learns that in this multiplicity lies diversity's beauty, not a deficit. In embracing this, the soul finds a whisper of freedom, choosing to remain steadfast in its truths, even when the world looks askance. To walk through life with one's spirit uncloaked is a quiet rebellion against the tide of conformity. This embrace of authenticity demands we let our inner selves stretch luxuriously into the spaces around us, even as others' worlds tremble with the quaking force of new truths. Approval no longer becomes the currency of existence. Instead, life blooms around the joy of unadulterated self-expression, the sweet nectar of unseen potential. As layers fall away, we discover resilience in vulnerability, strength rooted in candid convictions. Anchoring oneself within, we embark upon a journey far from the shores of external appeasement. This path leads into the heart of our being, where the echoes of worldly judgments fade into insignificant murmurs, practices of reflection, solitude, and a gentle inquiry guide us, weaving tapestries of self-acceptance that shield us from the storm of others' expectations. With each mindful breath, each whispered truth, the spirit finds an untouchable peace. There is liberation in relinquishing the reins of control that we never truly owned. In the unpredictability of life's dance, we discover not loss but power. By surrendering our tightly held desires to direct others' perceptions, we unleash the wellspring of energy needed to nurture what we can truly tend, our inner virtues and landscapes. In this release, the soul unfurls its wings, choosing authenticity over the need for prescriptive approval, soaring through the boundless sky of self-sovereignty. Within this vulnerability blooms not weakness, but an exquisite tapestry of connection, woven by the threads of shared truths and fragile dreams. Stripped of artifice, interaction morphs from choreographed performances into genuine exchanges where souls recognise and cradle each other's naked aspirations. Herein lies strength, in bearing witness and allowing others to witness us fully, creating bonds endured not by social adhesives, but by the binding glue of mutual humanity. And so, with courage, we redefine success, reshaping its contours to fit within our hearts rather than its historically rigid frames. Success is a personal alchemy, less about accolades and more about bearing witness to our journey with joy. It beckons us toward the vital dance of living for our own fulfillment, rather than the applause of the crowd, inviting us to explore vistas governed by personal meaning rather than dictated destinations. Solitude, once feared, reveals its true nature, not as isolation, but as a fertile ground for growth to take root. In its embrace, we are held safe to explore our own internal dialogues and face the formidable questions posed by our interior expanse. Alone but not lonely, our personal landscapes are tended to with care, each moment spent nurturing understanding and elemental truths. As solitude cradles us, resilience blossoms anew, and we rise from its depths, more closely aligned to our singular voice. In the maelstrom of external judgment, values emerge as our compass in the storm, steadfast guides that refuse to yield to mutable societal pressures. They remind us of the essence of who we are, anchoring us in storms of criticism with unwavering grace. This dedication to our core principles fortifies us, nurturing a life not dictated by the fleeting winds of approval, but by the enduring warmth of our own truth and integrity. The path of self-understanding, fierce and winding, invites us into the intricate dance of our psyche and spirit. It challenges us to delve into complexities, to seek grace over pretense, and to find answers in our alarms and delights. This journey embraces contradictions, nurturing growth from within, and crafting a life sculpted by purpose, the purpose that resides quietly in each explored corner of our soul, ready to whisper its truths to those who dare to listen amidst the din. In the depths of our shared human experience lies a quiet paradox, the innate longing to be seen, and the learned urge to vanish softly into the background. From the dawn of our awareness, whispers implore us to tread lightly, to make our presence a mere shadow on the wall, never an encumbrance to others. This unspoken lesson trails us, encouraging us to fold ourselves inward, much like the closing of petals at dusk. And in this contraction, we often forget our own worth. Yet, therein lies the tender irony. Our souls yearn for recognition, to stand tall in our authenticity. To embrace this paradox is to begin a delicate journey into existing fully, unapologetically. Taking up space is not a loud rebellion, but a gentle reclaiming of a birthright. Imagine yourself as a mighty oak, your roots intertwining with the earth, your branches reaching skyward, deserving of both sun and soil. Your presence weaves unique threads into the tapestry of existence, each thought and emotion a vital strand. The journey to embracing space is a quiet dialogue within, where you remind yourself of your intrinsic worth. To stand tall in your own space is to honour the miracle of your individuality, your life inherently necessary. Presence transcends the physical. It is the soul's echo manifest through body and mind, a sacred act of creation. In philosophies both spiritual and existential, presence is an offering, an acknowledgement that each being is a vessel of life's energies. This sacred presence encourages an awareness of our impact, a gentle stewardship of the ambience we create. Living authentically becomes a truth reverberating through every encounter and solitude, a declaration that your existence is not trivial, but vital. In this reverence, moments transform into affirmations of self, a testament to the enduring significance of being. Yet, society often whispers the virtue of over-accommodation, suggesting that through self-reduction, acceptance is found. This narrative lures us into betraying our needs, prioritising others' comfort over authenticity. True connection can't be born from such sacrifice, but from the integrity of mutual presence. To break free from over-accommodation is to understand compassion as a balance, holding respect for others alongside the dignity of self. Boundaries, like gentle breath, allow relationships to flourish, nurturing growth without overpowering. This is not selfishness, but a profound respect for individuality and the dance of interconnected existence. From this, we learn to embody worthiness not as a singular self-affirmation, but as a grounded belief that one's life possesses intrinsic value. This worthiness transcends societal validation, revealing the truth of your being as sacred. It's a journey inward, peeling away the layers taught to you by voices calling for shrinking, for apology. Through this journey, transformation occurs, a quiet revolution reflected in posture, speech, and presence. It whispers of acceptance, celebrating the human journey as a complex weave of flaws and strengths, beautifully entwined. Liberation is found not just in the boundaries we set, but in the acknowledgement of the sacred space they create. Boundaries are discerning lines that nurture clarity and mutual respect. They're not walls, but guides, helping navigate the dynamics of relationships. They allow the interaction of energies without the encroachment of self, providing safety in your own skin. Unburdened by unwanted obligations, boundaries invite authenticity, fostering respect and a shared dance of life. In silence, a profound presence dwells. Unlike absence, silence nurtures introspection and authentic communication. While society urges us to fill every moment with sound, in embracing silence, the deeper currents of thought arise. It allows listening to oneself, a form of radical acceptance, which declares existence meaningful, even without the noise of validation. Silence becomes a bridge to understanding, unifying mind and heart, affirming your being as sufficient. From this foundation, engagement with the world grows in strength and conviction. Expression, like a vibrant bloom, claims space with joyful affirmation, inviting others into our world of thoughts and emotions. Self-expression, once confined by fear, finds release by defying conformity. Through artistic creation and storytelling, we weave our stories into the collective human narrative, validating presence and declaring boldly, "I am here." It is through this expression that we contribute uniquely to the tapestry of life, enriching it with diversity and beauty. In rituals of affirmation, we find anchors that ground us in self-worth. Rituals like whispered affirmations or moments of stillness transcend ordinary time, marking the sacredness of our presence. They remind us of our journey and growth, aligning spirit and mind. These practices build resilience against external pressures to disappear. Through them, we are encouraged to dream, expand and affirm our presence, celebrating life's dance. Finally, from resistance, acceptance blooms. Resistance is the shadow of doubt, insisting we remain small. Yet in acknowledging it, we transform it into a teacher. Acceptance is the grace to face challenges openly, nurturing an evolving journey. This shift allows stepping into one's own space authentically, embracing the complexity of existence, while recognizing freedom as an inner sanctuary. Through this, taking up space becomes not just a right, but a celebration of life's infinite beauty. There exists a curious allure in the thought of vanishing, in slipping beneath the radar as unseen hands mould our lives around beings quieter, more deferent. To erase oneself is often mistakenly embraced as humility, a trait admired across generations. It begins with the illusion that prioritising others' expectations over our own true desires somehow brings honour. This path of meek invisibility might shelter us from arrows of criticism, crafting a protective veil through which others can pass without notice, while we remain guarded in shadow. Yet real humility does not call for us to fade. Rather, it sings an ancient song of self-awareness, flourishing at the junction where boundaries kiss. The world teaches us that by remaining modest and silent, conflict and criticism may never find us. We silence our voices willingly, believing this silence to be noble. For how easy it is to find a haunting pride in quietly labouring, in binding ourselves as unsung supporters, in always placing others first. But true self-worth is not a fragile echo. It breathes deeply in space, unapologetically claimed, and strengthens the tapestry of life's vast loom through definitive presence. In childhood's soft dawn, self-erasure finds its roots, as the tender souls learn from every frown and every sidelong glance, mapping safety in retreat rather than revelation. The strategy assembles itself brick by brick, promising an impenetrable fortress where vulnerability dare not venture. Yet this sanctuary soon shows itself to be a cage, where the heart's rich soil is sterile, nourishment scant, and authenticity as scarce as moonlit blossoms in a winter night. Invisible walls remain unyielding until we reach beyond them to understand their nature. Cultivating connections that mirror back to us our worth-awakened seeds long dormant. Every act of reclaiming visibility resonates softly, for genuine presence defies the naiveties of arrogance. We draw forward, redefining what it means to stand in one's truth, engaging life's stage without commanding but rather inviting collaborative symphonies. Cultural narratives spin a web of deference as virtue, embedding themselves like gentle whispers in societal fabric. A mother, tirelessly at her call, a worker, modest and unyielding. But these tales conceal deeper stories of beings hesitant to shine, drawn to corners where light seldom finds root. By questioning these tales and recognising our deserved place amongst stars, the painting of existence gains vibrancy and shifts from monochrome to brilliance. Yes, disappearing seems to promise something sweet, acceptance, protection from life's storms. Yet this investment in erasure yields a wealth less substantive than shadow. Energy dwindles, aspirations wither, unseen in the cavern of neglect. As our inner compass veers, the self implores, yearns for recognition, for essence once vibrant and strong to be unshackled from the chains of invisibility. An urging rises from within to seek a new strength, not clothed in the falsities of silence, but in the rich tapestry of humble individuality, a presence neither brash nor retreating, merely firm in its own seasons. Such strength is woven from realisation, humility reimagined as an anchor upon tranquil seas, never tempestuous, yet grounded deeply within. On this journey to visibility, let us not forget our roots in shadow. Engaging the shadow through insightful reflection and conscious integration reveals hidden facets, an unseen dance that shapes our becoming. To draw fully from this dance is to acknowledge everything within, ushering shadow into the light to blur no longer at the edges of self. In embracing this unity, we stand serenely amid chaos, neither yielding nor clamouring for domination. In the full embrace of individual authenticity, we contribute to a symphony of humanity, rich, textured, harmonious. Departure from self-erasure does not detract from the collective. It reveals the notes in a melody more complex than we could have imagined. As we allow brilliance in, spaces once labelled selfish fill with possibilities that ring true across time, generations, and shared existence. Ending this tale, we see self-erasure dissolve like mist under a warming sun. Humility reveals itself not as a fast to fade, but as a beacon, calling from the heart of undivided talents. Embracing oneself, we discover our presence in the world, is our inheritance, our duty, our art. And in revealing it, we join hands with countless others, each step unquenchable as we etch across the skies, gleaming and unabashed, new legends of existence. In the depths of our human essence lies an enduring longing to belong, a whisper that calls us to dance in the circles of kinship. From tender beginnings, we learn to mould ourselves to the backdrop of social tapestries, bending to harmonise with the rhythm of our surroundings. Yet when this dance becomes a silent compromise that veils our true self, it wounds the very foundation of our being. Slowly, like tendrils of creeping ivy, the act of self-betrayal wraps around our core, whispering sweet illusions of harmony, while sowing discord deep within. This betrayal, subtle as a morning mist, chips away at the soul, leaving behind mere echoes of authenticity. Each instance we prioritise external expectations over our inner voice. We carve away pieces of our spirit, gradually making ourselves a stranger in our own soul's domain. What starts as a gentle yielding morphs into a haunting pattern of self-silencing, where the harmony we seek in others' acceptance builds cacophony within. A quiet inner dissonance takes root, manifesting in the garb of anxiety and discontent, nudging us towards the realisation that in aligning with others, we have misaligned within ourselves. In a world woven with the threads of conformity, the price of fitting in often exacts a heavy toll on our uniqueness. Society, with its invisible strings, gently nudges us to trade off fragments of our individuality for fleeting warmth of acceptance. The comfort of conformity, though tempting, slowly seeps away our vibrant colours, replacing them with shades of muted grey. It steals not only our creativity, but also masks the potential for innovation, which flourishes only in those daring enough to defy the status quo. Yet, reclaiming our individuality is a journey of uncovering the self beneath layers of societal veils, a liberation from self-imposed limits, a reawakening of the creative spirit that once dared to dream. As we embark on this path, balancing the tenderness of human connection with the fierce authenticity of our soul becomes essential. Gently, we come to see ourselves as vessels of truth and expression, yielding not to the siren song of conformity, but flowing freely in the stream of self-awareness. Within us, the inner voice of doubt might rise as a looming shadow, a guardian once protective, now a gatekeeper of potential. It looms questioning our worth and bidding us to remain in the shadows for the safety of others' approval. With every self-betrayal, this voice grows stronger, casting illusions of inadequacy that widen the gap between our true essence and the self we present to the world. In taming this voice, we recognise its attempts to keep us from daring to shine, and we see through its veil by questioning its roots and reshaping it with mindful awareness. As we nurture compassion for ourselves, understanding emerges, free of judgment and full of gentleness, teaching us to trust in our instincts more than in external affirmations. Through this trust, we move towards authenticity, where actions and values find solace in a harmonious dance. The search for belonging at the sacrifice of authenticity often brings with it a companion of profound loneliness. Hidden beneath a constructed facade, our true self yearns for the warmth of genuine connection. Yet, To reveal our soul, we must gather the courage to lay bare our vulnerabilities. In shedding these societal masks, we find the path to real connection, where authenticity bridges hearts in mutual recognition. Authenticity, in its rawest form, invites others to meet us in truth, weaving bonds of shared understanding and love. And so the fear of rejection plays its role, urging us to hide our imperfections, forever casting the shadow of self-doubt. But in acceptance, we find that rejection is not the end, but rather a heralding bell to guide us onto paths more aligned with our spirit. By establishing firm boundaries and practicing self-love, we realise that our worth is untouched by the opinions of others as we embrace rejection, both as a teacher and a compass pointing us toward more authentic connections. True freedom is a quiet revolution of the soul, unfurling through the practice of self-validation. Here lies a grounding force that roots us in a profound truth, that our worth is immutable and untouched by external judgments. This practice of introspection nurtures resilience, allowing our voices to rise in harmonic alignment with our truth. Here, strength emerges as a natural, steadfast presence that shines without need for external affirmation. Each word, each action, a testament to our authenticity. As we reclaim our voice, we mirror the universe itself, a rich tapestry of stories sung in the language of truth. This act of reclaiming becomes an unyielding force that stretches into the world, embracing fears of judgment and affirming our right to be heard. Within the sanctity of self-dialogue, clarity emerges, and a resonance with our innermost dreams is found. With each expression, we cut pathways through the dense fog of pretense, leading others to recognise their own truths. This journey, this sacred pilgrimage back to self, begins and ends in the quiet embrace of acceptance. We step softly upon the path of integration, where each shadow and light become parts of our whole. In this gentle knowing, we see our worth as inherent and unconditional, an eternal flame illuminating the way forward. Here within this sanctuary of truth, the echo of self-betrayal fades, and in its place blooms the vibrant livelihood of authenticity. As we draw this chapter to a close, we invite you to reflect upon these gentle truths. If this journey resonates with you, join our community by liking and subscribing to our channel. May your path be filled with authenticity and grace.